then I want some cushion. But nowadays, it is not how much liquid assets you have that matters. It is how much access to cash. This modern financial technology allows you to keep as little current assets as possible. Why? These assets, by their nature, are liquid. And liquid assets, by their nature, are not very risky. That means they do not earn finance of return. If a firm has a very high turn ratio, they're basically doing a disservice to their investors. Because they could be using that, they could be getting higher returns. If not, just return that cash to your investors, either through dividends or stock repurchases. For example, NVIDIA doesn't pay much dividends. I think they pay only 2 cents per share, but they just announced $50 billion buyback. Firms can do two things. The startups do not have big access to the financial system. If a startup company goes to JP Morgan and say, I'm doing a product, it's risky, but it's promising, and you may have the best product in mind, they're going to laugh you out of it. They can go to venture capital firms. They don't loan you money. Sometimes they loan you money, but they are surprised it's taking the opposite. But then you go to a bank, it's basically tails, bank loses, heads, you win. If it comes up heads, you're successful. Your stock is going to go from $1 to $100. If you bought NVIDIA 20 years ago, you're $1 for every $1. These thousands. Right? Who knew, right? 20 years ago, NVIDIA was just a high-speed graphics chip company. Who knew that they were going to go into AI? Same thing with Microsoft. When Microsoft went IPO in 1986, if you put in $1, it would have been $10,000. At least they had something. But for larger companies, or it's similar to home equity lines, for example. They don't say, okay, here's $1 million, go spend it. They say, okay, I looked at your business. I'm giving you $1 billion line of credit. I don't need it. Why? Because as soon as I borrow, I have to pay interest, which means I don't have to keep cash around or other things around. I don't even have to keep my receivables around. Let's say I have a lot of receivables. Before 1980, all the receivables were there. You just paid it for them to be paid. Now, my business generates a lot of receivables. Maybe I have clients. Most clients would prefer to pay over time. I tell them, okay, you go ahead, fine. Maybe in 90 days. But I can't charge you an interest on that. But I need to fund that. One way to fund that is go use bank loans or take those receivables, issue a bond, use those receivables as collateral. These are called asset-backed securities. Issue a commercial paper. Money market funds would absolutely love that because money market funds can invest only into securities by investment grade issuers that are maturing in 90 days or less. Relative to T-bills, they yield a lot higher. So money market funds would go ahead and grab it. Pension funds or their short-term obligations, and other people as well. So I don't even need to keep receivables up. So it's how much access to cash you have that matters. I can have those receivables securitized and give it to my shareholders. As long as I know that I can get the money anytime I need it. So this isn't that important anymore. But for smaller companies, I want current ratio to be significantly north of 1.5. Two greater than signs typically means much better. Mathematicians have a way of communicating things. All symbols mean something. For example, do you guys know what that means? Mathematics. For all. For example, for all x greater than 0, square root of x is a real number. Or that means that exists. Or element of a lot of things. Have you guys ever watched a movie called A Beautiful Mind? It's in the 1990s, but it's about a Nobel Prize in economics winner, John Nash, who's basically one of the fathers of the game theory. His PhD dissertation was 4 pages. He proved that there exists an equilibrium of bargaining games, but it was all math. And with math, you can say a lot of things with just symbols. Whenever you need to use current ratio, especially for companies that may not have easy access to credit systems, sometimes we say, okay, not all current assets are equally liquid, right? And inventory is the least liquid of, typically, of current assets. So we're going to calculate something called quick ratio. This is sometimes also known as the acid test, which is current assets minus inventory divided by CR. QR equals CR minus. I have a small company. I'm concerned whether or not they could pay me, especially small companies. They not steady sales yet, so they may not buy it. I don't know if we can sell that. And if you're also concerned about the receivables, just calculate the cash ratio. It's basically cash plus cash-like stuff, like short-term investments. So sell their inventory. If they have enough cash and easily cashable investments, I'm just going to look at that ratio. But as I said, for larger firms, these investments are always done. But if you're looking at smaller firms that may be credit constrained, then you look at these. Let's look at some of the long-term solvency ratios. Now, the mother of them is debt equity ratio. It's basically the total liabilities divided by total equity. What this ratio should be is somewhat industry dependent. If it's an industry that requires heavy investments upfront, tends to be high. Okay. Example: airlines. In order to operate an airline, you need an airplane, right? And those things are not cheap. Let's look at, for example, quickly to